So welcome again to our Introduction to Core Publisher webinar. This is the official kickoff for your Core Publisher onboarding. On our agenda for today's webinar, we're going to talk about some approaches to Core Publisher, some features, the benefits, the content types, and then we're going to focus on the header navigation, your underwriting, some other resources that are connected to Core Publisher. And then we're going to finish off by talking about the timeline, responsibilities, and next steps in your onboarding. So to start, let's just talk about some of the approaches to Core Publisher, some of the benefits, and also how you can use Core Publisher's tools to help to meet your specific station goals. Core Publisher is an enterprise level content management system, and the main goal of Core Publisher is to make it easier for you as a station team to focus on creating quality content and having to spend less time on technical process, all of that DNS and site hosting and whatnot. We try to take a lot of that off of you and just give you time to focus more on creating great content. Some of the three goals for Core Publisher are to help you to present your content better, to update your content better, and also measure the success of your content through Core Publisher. So in presenting your content, you've got the responsive design, which means that your site is going to resize for different browser sizes, different mobile devices, just to give you a more flexible and also consistent layout for your web visitors. Core Publisher also supports third-party tools like YouTube embeds, polls, maps, and those sorts of embeds, some of those specifically on pages, and we'll talk more about that later in onboarding. In terms of updating, we tried Core Publisher. It's one of the features of Core Publisher is to make it easy for your staff to publish and manage your content, to feature not only your content, but content from the NPR Story API and from other stations through the API. There's audio processing for story segments and also 24/7 monitoring. So we understand that stations do not work on a 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 schedule. So if you're working on your site in off hours or after business hours, there will always be someone available on our end to help. And then lastly, with measuring the success of your content, there is seamless search engine optimization and site search built into your site. Core Publisher does support underwriting and advertising through DoubleClick for publishers, and we're going to talk more about that later today. Core Publisher can be used as a promotional platform for your social tools, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, anything like that. And it also integrates with our station analytics system, also known as SAS, and Composer too. So again, just some of the benefits of Core Publisher. A bit of technical information. As I mentioned before, it is an enterprise-level template-based content management system developed specifically for the public radio system. So what that means is that your site, your Core Publisher template, was built with the idea of what would be the most beneficial for the entire public radio system. It uses a Drupal-based system with proprietary customization. There is the ability to publish into both NPR1 and the PMP. There is a content delivery network bandwidth and storage included, so you don't have to worry about trying to find somewhere else, some other server to host your audio and your media files. You can host those directly into Core Publisher. There's integration with the Disqus commenting and social sharing tools, so you will be able to have commenting. It is optional, but you will be able to have that at the bottom of every one of your posts. As I mentioned before, there is 24/7 on-call staff as well as 24/7 automated monitoring and paging with automatic failover. What that basically means is that if at any point there is something wrong with our server or our databases, we do have automatic failover, and we do also have automated monitoring. So we will be in the loop and aware of any issues that go on with our servers and databases. And lastly, all of Core Publisher, everything that it's connected to, is maintained and supported by the folks here at NPR Digital Services. So a few benefits of responsive. What we're looking at here is a animated GIF, just to give you an idea of what the responsive theme is. You notice how as you make the window smaller, the content on the site just moves around. It doesn't change. It's still the same content. It just moves to fit the smaller size screen. So the responsive design is an approach in which a single site is crafted for optimal viewing across a range of devices. So instead of having your live site, but then also having a mobile app or a mobile theme like mobile dot your website or something like that. You don't have to have that with responsive design. It's better for users because they'll have the same consistent experience when they go to your site at their work laptop versus when they're headed home on the bus and they're looking at it on their phone. They'll have the same consistent experience. It's great for integrated and complete analytics data because you'll be able to have, basically you're pulling data from one website instead of having to track your mobile data on your mobile site or your app. You don't have to worry about that with a responsive design site. It's also great for sharing across devices and social. We know that everything is going to social media, right? So if folks are sharing your posts, your articles on Facebook and Twitter, and someone clicks on that post to read it, they'll have a well-designed way to read that article if they're on a phone. It's also great for search. Google actually recommends and rewards responsive design sites. They show up higher in your search engine results. So if your site is in responsive design and someone's doing a search on a mobile device, they're going to get if the site is responsive, you're going to be higher up in the search engine results. So it's another benefit. And then lastly, it is easier to manage the site from one admin and one code base. Just if you're only working on one general site management, it's a little bit easier than trying to manage an app, a site, and a web theme a mobile theme at the same time. So there's just a few of the benefits of the responsive design. So when you're starting to think about Core Publisher, we're always talking about building a rhythm. So, what we recommend doing when you are live with Core Publisher is to think of this rhythm to build out your content, to to create content that you think your web visitors are interested in and are going to want to come to your site for. And then use that content to draw in your audience. And then your audience comes to your site, they fall in love, and then they make the choice to become sustainers and donate to your station. They'll also contribute to your metrics. You'll be able to see what are folks actually doing on your site, what content, what programs, what topics are most interesting to your web visitors, and you'll be able to use those metrics to further inform the content that you're creating. So once you're starting to build content based on these sort of metrics through Core Publisher, you'll start to be able to even further engage your audience. And again, that increases the revenue, which increases the metrics. And as you see, it does become a cycle or a rhythm. So you're all here on this webinar because you are looking to use Core Publisher to achieve your digital goals. This was something that we talked about during your Meet the Team webinars, but it's something that we're really going to be talking about throughout the entire onboarding cycle. You want to think about what type of digital content are you currently creating and how often do you create that content? Are you creating 2 to 3 articles a week, and then maybe you've got 2 or 3 different audio newscasts or podcasts? You want to start to take inventory of that going into the cycle. You also want to think about what's more important to your digital strategy. Is it building new audience or deepening the engagement with your existing audience? Or is it a bit of both? Are you looking to do both? Both or just one of these? They're all possible with Core Publisher. You also want to think about what roles at your station will be involved, not only in this current onboarding process, but also after your site is live. Who is going to be responsible for adding content? Who are the folks that looking down the line you're going to tap to just continue to grow your site and grow your strategy? Also, what other channels are you distributing your content through? Do you have podcasts, newsletters? Do you have a mobile app? Do you have social media platforms that you use? Just think about how else you're radiating your content. And then also, how will you promote your digital experience? Will it be through these different channels? Will it be on air? Will it be a mix of both? And then lastly, and somewhat most importantly, what differentiates your station and your content? What are people in love with your station for? What do they come to your website or come to your station for? And how can you use Core Publisher to reflect and promote that? And the best way to do that is through your content. There are 7 types of content that you can create in Core Publisher. We're going to talk more about these as we go through our onboarding, but I just wanted to list them out for you and give you definitions of each to give you an idea of what sort of resources you'll have. So you've got your pages, posts, topic pages, program pages, people, promotional blocks, and web clips. Those are all sorts of content that we're going to be covering as we go throughout our onboarding cycle. So that is section 1. We're going to move on. Well, I'm going to pause first to see if there are any questions before we move on to section 2. All right, looks like there are no questions right now. So let's move on to section 2. Right now we're going to focus on your header and your navigation. So this is all about the branding that works, the design that works best for your station branding, and also thinking more about how are you going to present your content for your listeners and web visitors. So in Core Publisher, you will have complete control of your header design. You'll be able to add your logo, your background color or image, your tagline, and also customize the 2 buttons or the 1 or 2 buttons that show up in the top right, and those are your listen live and donate buttons. You'll also have complete control of your navigation. Because your site is responsive, your header is going to actually adjust depending on the size of the device screen. So when you're looking at your site in a desktop view, like on a laptop or on a regular size monitor, you're going to see your full header. You're going to have that logo, you're going to have your buttons, your background image, and then also at the bottom, your navigation. When you look at your site on a tablet or on a phone that's in landscape view, you're going to notice that things are a little bit more simplified, that image is gone and your navigation has turned into this little site menu button here, just to create again a more simplified, easier experience for folks to manage on a mobile device. And then if they're looking at your site in a mobile phone that's in portrait view, which is standard, just up and down, then you'll see that things are a lot more simplified. That navigation is now this 3-line or hamburger icon, and your listen live now stretches the full width. Things again just become more simplified, and you'll be able to customize all of the colors, the text, the button colors. You'll be able to customize all of that in Core Publisher. So some header recommendations, just some things to think about as you think about what you want your header to look like in Core Publisher. The first is to keep the header simple and clean so that the focus is on your content. You don't want, of course, you want to wow folks with your header, but you don't want them to come there and get completely distracted and forget what they came to your site for. You want to have prominent call letters or station name, however you choose to brand yourself. And then also using a tagline on what you do, news and jazz for Boston, or Boston's premier source for local news, something like that. There is the option to use an illustration or a photograph to give a sense of place. In the example here, they chose to use a photo of row homes to indicate the city that they're in, but you can choose to use any sort of illustration or image, but it is optional. You could also just choose to have a background color instead. And there is also the option to shorten the height of your header on internal pages. So the header is a little tall. On the home page, you can choose to have it be a little bit shorter on your internal pages to increase the amount of content that's going to appear above the fold. So the amount of, you'll be able to increase the amount of text or images that your web visitors will be able to see before they're required to scroll down the page. So there are four main ways that we see stations go in terms of their header design. The first is the simple logo only look. You see you've got just the background color. The station chose to go with white. And then you've got your logo, your tagline, and your donate, listen live buttons. There's also the conveying sense of place with an image or photograph. What we've got here, this is a photo of the beaches, the beautiful beaches of Southwest Florida for WGCU. That is where they're located. So as soon as you see this background image, you immediately think of the location of their station. The next is illustration. So this is NashvillePublicRadio.org. They chose to use an image of their ever-changing skyline for their header image. Something like this that's somewhat like a photograph, but it's actually an illustration, can also be very effective as well to convey a sense of place. And then lastly is just the abstract design. So, you can, what South Carolina Public Radio chose to do was take images of screens, kind of fade them out over a blue background. We've seen stations use dots or like wavy abstract lines, anything just to give some sort of design if you don't want to just go with a simple logo only look. So again, you've got lots of options. I'd be happy to work with all of you guys on what works best for your branding. So that's all about the header, the graphic image at the very top, but right under that is going to be your navigation, or as we refer to it, your flexi menu. Your flexi menu is about 3 to 7 links to key sections of your site. We'll talk a lot more about flexi menu strategy in our onboarding, but you do want to start to ask yourself, how does your audience think about your station's content? It's not necessarily about how you organize your content as a station or your different news teams, for example. It's more about how to get as much content in front of your web visitors in as easily a way as possible, like how to help them to get to what you want them to find in as simple a way. You can have drop downs. There's one level deep for your navigation, and we're also going to always be adding a search link to the far right side of your navigation, and that is powered by Google Search. All right, so we've talked about your header and your navigation at the very top, but now we're going to go all the way to the bottom of your core publisher site to talk about your partner logo and auxiliary footers. In core publisher, your footer is made up of 2 sections. You've got the partner logos footer at the top, and under that you have your auxiliary links footer. The partner logo footer, it's just a way to promote different affiliations that you have. So NPR, BBC, PRI, if you're affiliated with a local university, if you're a part of a news collaborative and you want to promote the stations that are a part of your collaborative, those are the sorts of things you can put in your partner logo footer section. And then auxiliary links is where you're going to put, links to your privacy policy, your EEO, your support links, other important areas of your site that you want folks to have really quick and easy access to. All right, let's pause to see if we have any questions before we move on to section 3. All right, looks like no questions right now. All right, so in Core Publisher, you will have underwriting options. They are powered by double click for publishers. You have three, your ads are going to be different depending on whether or not you're on a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile device. On desktop, you're going to have those three 300 by 250 standard size ads. And also on desktop, there's the option for a 728 by 90 expendable pencil box ad. It's just like a long rectangle, and it shows up right under your navigation. On tablets, the same thing, the three 300 by 250s and also that one 728 by 90. But then please note that on mobile, there's only one ad space, and it is a 320 by 50. So here's some examples of what those look like. This is that standard 300 by 250. Again, remember you have three of those on both desktop and tablet. This is that 728 by 90, and again, that is going to show up on desktop and tablet. And then here's that 320 by 50. Remember, that is only for mobile that you're going to have that option. It's only one of those ad spaces. And all of your underwriting will be managed through DoubleClick for Publishers. We also refer to it as DFP. DFP is the leading standard in ad serving, and it is owned by Google. We chose it for that reason because it is a leading standard, and also because there is no cost to use it. It allows you as a station to serve both in-house ads and also local ads if you want to promote your local theater or another local event or happening. You can do so, as well as promote your own fund drive programming and whatnot. It allows you to sell and manage your campaigns locally, as we just noted. It also allows you to track your click-through rate. So you'll be able to see how well your ads are doing. You can also do ad rotation and targeting. So even though you only have those three spaces, you can set up ads to rotate in those spaces. And you can also target ads to specific pages of your site. And it is fully integrated into Core Publisher and required if you choose to have underwriting on your site. You're not required to have underwriting. We do recommend it. And if you will be doing that, again, it is through DoubleClick for Publishers. So if you don't have an account, that is one of the things that you will be asked to do as you set up to go to start your Core Publisher cycle. Just note, please, that digital services, our team cannot fix, build, or traffic ads for your station. We can provide you with resources to help you to get started with DFP, but we cannot manage or make any changes to your ads. We do recommend, if you have questions, either taking a look at Google's resources for DoubleClick for Publishers. They have an amazing amount of help resources, or working with a third party for troubleshooting your campaigns and your creative development. One of those third-party options is called PMI Ops, and it is through National Public Media, or NPM. It's an option for stations with 50,000 or more page views per month. If you're looking for a third party to help with assistance with your ad management, definitely recommend contacting NPM for their PMI Ops program. Basically, how it works is that you, as the station, you sell all of your local spots. And PMI will just make sure that those spots, those underwriting spaces, are delivered properly and that everything is working. And if you have any spaces that are empty, they'll just backfill them with unsold spots. It's a great opportunity for stations that are doing some local online underwriting, but you're still kind of sort of getting up to speed on things. There is a cost, approximately $100 to $200 per month. It's more based on the complexity of your campaigns and the number of campaigns that you're doing. So if you have 50,000 or more page views per month and you're interested in contacting NPM for their PMI Ops program, please let me know and I can make sure to set up that call for you. All right. So working with PMI Ops is one of several things that you'll have the option to do through Core Publisher. We're now going to talk about a few of the other resources that Digital Services provides to help your station reach their digital goals. The first is our underwriting team. I'm sorry, our editorial team. Our editorial team is amazing, and they have a website at training.npr.org. And at their editorial training website, you're going to find station spotlights, social media tips, tips to, best practices for creating your core publisher post, growing your online engagement. There is no charge to go to their website, so I do recommend taking a look, training.npr.org, for some best practices on creating and improving your digital news. There's also our station analytics system. Again, we also refer to this as SAS. You will be aligned with SAS as a part of your core publisher onboarding. So if you're not using it already, you will be by the end of our cycle. Station analytics system is an amazingly powerful tool to help you to answer some of your business intelligence questions. Like, is your site accomplishing the goals they've set? Is it growing? Is your audience engaged? And what exactly are they engaged with? You're going to have access to dashboards that help you to just get a better idea of what folks are doing on your site. Some of the things that SAS provides are live website traffic, live streaming traffic information, analytics for NPR One, and also your on-demand audio, all in the same dashboard using Google Analytics trackers. So if you already have a Google Analytics tracker, that's great. Definitely send that to us via your setup form, and we will kind of sort of upgrade your tracker to give us a bit more information, and that's what we're going to use in the station analytics system. Another one of the tools that you will be using as a part of Core Publisher is Composer 2. Composer 2 is our online schedule and playlist management tool. So if you're not currently using Composer 2, but you do plan to have schedules and playlists on your site, no worries. We will make sure to get you set up as a part of your onboarding. What Composer 2 allows you to do is to display your schedules and your playlist data seamlessly into Core Publisher. It allows you to create and manage your schedules and playlists, and it automatically populates your program pages with any of that data. So on your program pages, you'll always have the up-to-date playlist for any of your music programs. And there is also easy integration with your Sound Exchange reporting, just an extra benefit of Composer 2. And then lastly, there is the community calendar. So the community calendar is one of the newest features to our Core Publisher toolset. And what it allows you to do is to create, list, and promote community events in Core Publisher. So instead of having to have a separate Google Calendar or use a separate third party and then trying to figure out how to integrate it into Core Publisher, you have a community calendar built right into the tool. It provides you with an RSS feed that you can share or use on your homepage. And again, everything is built right into Core Publisher. You also have the underwriting spaces that you would have with other parts of your site. And also, just like the rest of your site, it is responsive. All right. So it looks like we still don't have any questions. That's okay. I know this is a lot to cover in one day. So now we're going to talk about the timelines and responsibilities of both us here at Digital Services and you as you start your core publisher cycle. So we mentioned this on our Meet the Team calls, but it is a 7-week onboarding commitment. The first week is the prep week, which includes the deep dive webinar or the intro webinar. So congratulations, you're already partway through your first week. After this, we will be having our 5 weeks of training. Training is every week. You will be receiving an outline with all of those training webinars to register. And in that same 5 weeks, we'll also be having a separate one-on-one hour-long call. At the end of those training weeks, there will be a final week to do some station-led final site testing and also the launching of your site. And throughout those weeks, there will be what we refer to as homework, just some station site building tasks to help you to get your site built and ready for launch. And we say that there's about 5 to 15 hours local working time weekly, and this does include the check-in call and the weekly training. This really depends on the size of your site, how much content you're creating, and your resources. If you're able to split up some of the responsibilities and the site building tasks amongst other folks at your station, you can kind of sort of spread the love and work together to get your site built. And again, it's usually around, like we said, 5 to 15 hours per week. So some station responsibilities: you're going to be receiving a setup form so that you can start to fill out some information about your site, about your team, and also sign up for partnership services like Disqus, DoubleClick for publishers, Google Analytics if you haven't done so already, and also to get an NPR API key, which you will need to pull content into your site and also push your content to the NPR Story API. You're also going to be gathering all the logos, the colors, the text for your header and your footer. And then just building out your site content, setting up your underwriting, building your users, and then building all of your site basically. And then lastly, you're going to have to get internal stakeholder sign off on how you're going to be using the NPR Story API, your homepage, the content, just making sure that other stakeholders at your station have seen and approved your site. Just wanted to reiterate that those trainings during the 5 weeks, they are mandatory. It is very important that you make sure that you attend all trainings because we will be covering different topics each week around getting your site live. We do recommend following the training schedule. Each training is going to be offered via a live webinar that someone from your station must attend every week. And we will be recording those so that if other folks can't make it or you want to review, you will be able to. And that check-in call will be on a separate day. So it won't be the same day as training, but it will be during that same week. And that, again, everyone is required to attend those as well. The trainings, they help you to prepare you to build your site. And we just wanted to reiterate that you guys must do the work to get your site up and prepared to launch. So during onboarding, you will be assisted by a support manager. That is me, Rakisha Chase Jackson. I will be your main point of contact throughout your migration. I'm going to be available for site setup, training, and guidance and feedback. After onboarding, you're going to have the option, you're going to have several resources to help after onboarding. You've got the recorded trainings via YouTube, our online support center with a knowledge base, manuals, and FAQs. You'll always be able to have access to our digital services blog for best practices, and also remember that 24-hour emergency support, emphasis on emergency. Another thing that we'll be talking about next week, but you'll want to start to think about now, is your legacy content migration. So all of the amazing work that you've been doing so far on your sites, what are you going to do with that content once you've moved over to Core Publisher? So there are 2 options to consider. The first is the low effort option. It involves basically just maintaining the site that you currently have as a legacy site, like archive.yourwebsite.org. And then we can configure your Google site search to crawl both your current site, your Core Publisher site, and your legacy site to return results. Or there is the moderate effort option, which is to identify the most valuable stories from your archive and then migrate them to Core Publisher manually. So taking a look at your analytics, getting a traffic summary, and seeing what content are folks clicking on the most, what's the most evergreen content, and then just copying and pasting that content into Core Publisher. And again, we can talk more about this on your one-on-one calls to think about what option will work best for you and your team. So some next steps, the immediate next steps for everyone. You're going to be getting a link to our setup form after this webinar. Make sure to fill that out and get it back to us by Friday. If you need to set up Composer 2, you'll be contacted about that as well. And also signing up for DoubleClick for publishers if you have not done so already. So that is what I've got for you today. That is your official kickoff for getting started with Core Publisher. We talked about the approaches to Core Publisher, how it can be used to help to build out your station goals, the features and benefits, the different content types you can create. And then we talked more about some of the small features of Core Publisher, your header, your navigation, your underwriting. We outlined some of the different resources that you can use as a part of Core Publisher. And then we finished off by talking about that timeline and your responsibilities. So if anyone has any questions, definitely, now is the time to ask them. If not, you can always email me directly with questions. I'd be happy to answer them. All right, looks like we don't have any questions. Looks like we have a raised hand. Currently you are all muted. So if you have a question, please type it into the chat window. I'd be happy to answer it there, but we can't unmute anyone to allow you to ask your question that way. Oh, looks like we've got a question. My email address. Sure. So my email address is rchase@npr.org. RCHASE. So I will be sending out an email to you all after this webinar. So you'll also have it there as well. All right, so if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to let you guys go. Again, look out for an email or a flood of emails actually from me over the next few days. I'm just getting everything set up. I'll be sending you information on the setup form, your next steps. I'll be sending you your Core Publisher site URL, links to sign up for your check-in calls, all that good stuff will all be coming within the next few days. So this is it. You're officially in the cycle, and I look forward to working with you all over the next few weeks. And thanks for joining me today, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.